While losing any of your key people in the life of your business is difficult and can be very detrimental to your business, it's particularly damaging in the later stages when you're planning your exit. Your key people, they know that they're key and they know that they have negotiating power, and sometimes they're not too happy when they find out that the business is going to be sold or transferred. So we want to do what we can to make sure that we're communicating with them in an appropriate way about what's going on, and B, that we're retaining and rewarding them and preventing them from going out and hanging their shingle and competing with us, potentially costing us the deal that we're planning in our exit or a third-party sale that we're planning. Any buyer wants to see that the key management team is going to remain intact after the transition. So if the business revolves around you, or if you have key people that you are not doing anything to retain, that can be potentially very dangerous for a successful exit. So that's what I want to focus on today. Hi there, my name is Ashley Micciche. I'm the CEO of True North Retirement Advisors, where we specialize in exit planning for business owners. And today I want to talk about a very important concept in exit planning, which is deferred compensation plans. These can be an excellent tool for planning your exit and making sure that you retain and reward your key people. In the early days of True North, within the first couple weeks of launching our firm, we actually lost one of our key people. And it was a devastating blow. I had some real reservations about how we were going to move forward from there. But luckily, we were able to bring somebody else on very quickly who was able to kind of pick up the pieces of losing that key person. Let's talk about what is a non-qualified deferred compensation plan. And the name is a little bit self-evident there. So non-qualified means that the plan is not subject to the strict rules of ERISA, which govern plans like 401ks. So there's a qualified retirement plan, which is like a 401k or a profit sharing plan, and then there's non-qualified, which is like the non-qualified deferred comp that I'm talking about today. So the primary difference between the two is that the laws of ERISA do not govern the non-qualified deferred comp plans, which makes them very flexible, and there's a lot of options when it comes to designing the plan, who you include in the plan. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then the other piece of it, so we've got the non-qualified piece of it, but then we also have the deferred compensation. So what does that mean? So all that means is that when you pay your employee, you can put part of their compensation, part of their pay into this deferred compensation plan. It means that they're still getting the money, but it's being deferred to a later date. So it's very popular. These plans are used all the time in large companies, particularly for executives and key people, because what it does is you can use the plan to incentivize them. So let's say, they get a base salary of X and then they get a bonus of X. And if they hit certain parameters, maybe they also get money put into their deferred compensation plan of X as well. So, and because they're so flexible, you can design them in a myriad of ways and have certain criteria, like money is only going to be going into the deferred compensation plan if you hit X target. And the key here is that this is all in writing, so you can't just change your opinion from day to day about what constitutes a qualification of someone getting employer money going into the plan on their behalf. But they are flexible. How does a non-qualified deferred compensation plan, how does this play into retaining and rewarding your key people? Well, if it's designed well, a non-qualified deferred comp is often the most simple and most effective way to reward and retain your key people. I'm recording this video in early May 2019, and the unemployment numbers just came out from last month. And what the unemployment numbers are is currently the unemployment rate in the United States is 3.6%. That is the lowest it's been since December of 1969. So many of you watching don't even remember a time. That's the same year that we went to the moon. Okay, that's a more than half a lifetime ago. Unemployment rate is very low. What that means is that if you are out looking for a job, if you are a key person, you have a lot of negotiating power. It is the best time, one of the best times to be looking for a job in the last 50 years, because there are so many unfilled jobs right now, and there's a lot of opportunity for skilled and knowledgeable people to find work. So we have to retain these people. It's not like retaining them in a recession where they're less likely to make a move. There's less opportunities for jobs. There are abundant opportunities for jobs right now, and it is absolutely critical that we retain those people. I want to talk about 4 key components of a non-qualified deferred comp plan and how that relates back to exit planning. One of the common things that I see in talking with business owners is that they don't do enough to put handcuffs on their employees. And I don't mean handcuffs in a negative way, but there are certainly things that you can do that places handcuffs on your employees. And one of the unique features about the non-qualified deferred comp plan when it comes to retaining people is that you can use vesting schedule. So let's say every year you make a contribution to the deferred compensation plan, and you put in X dollars, but each year that money is going to vest over, say, several years. I think it can go up to 6 years. I'm not sure it goes longer than that, but the money vests in that year for a period of several years. And so in order to get that money that was put in, say, in 2019, they need to stay on board until 2025. You can also write in things into the plan document that says, like, when there's a change of control, everything vests immediately, or you can set it up so that the employees, when there's a change in control, when there's a new ownership, that's a distributable event. So it incentivizes them to stay on, because when there is new ownership change, then they're going to be able to get paid out of the plan, and they don't have to retire in order to get their money out of the plan. And you can have vesting schedules for every single year. So I have a vesting schedule for this year, and then I make a contribution to the plan next year, and then there's a new 6-year vesting schedule for that. So if the contributions are significant, these can add up over time to several $100,000 that an employee would forfeit potentially, or could potentially forfeit a significant portion of if they were to leave. The other key component of a non-qualified deferred comp plan that I've already mentioned briefly is that it needs to be in writing. This is very important and should go without saying, but when it's in writing, it establishes what all the criteria in the plan design is, what the vesting schedule is, what the criteria is for receiving a contribution, etc. So it's important, and a good, well-designed, non-qualified deferred comp plan should be in writing. One of the more popular ways that employers will use the non-qualified deferred comp plan is to incentivize employees with a certain set of criteria. So you might only reward a contribution for an employee in a non-qualified deferred comp plan for a given year if certain metrics or certain benchmarks are hit. Now, these can be they're usually tied to growth. So if you need the business to value to be worth more, through higher revenues, higher profitability, if you're not quite where if the business is not quite where it needs to be yet, we can use the non-qualified deferred comp plan to align the employee's interests with that of you as the owner. And in an ideal world, we would do that. So you can be creative with this. You'll want to talk to your advisor or your attorney, whoever is helping you set up and design this non-qualified deferred comp plan. Have discussions with them about what the criteria is to receive a contribution, because again, because it's a non-qualified plan, you can set up a certain set of criteria. People don't get a contribution just because they're breathing and they show up for work. You can set it up so that they only receive money in the plan for a given year if certain benchmarks are hit. So one thing that I didn't mention earlier that is very important to discuss when it comes to forfeiture is you can actually mandate that an employee, if they violate their employment agreement, so if they leave and they take vendors, customers, other employees, they go out and compete with you. So if you have, if they sign a non-compete or a confidentiality, if you have all these stipulations in their employment agreement that prevents them from, taking all of your customers or taking your vendors or your employees and setting up shop down the street, and they violate that, every dollar of their non-qualified deferred comp plan can be gone. They could forfeit it all if they violate the provisions in their employment agreement. So it's very important that you stipulate that and you communicate that with your employees so they don't get ideas. So that's one of the things that can go south, is that you have a key person that leaves. They take your employees, they take your customers, maybe a year prior to when you exit, and totally destroy your business and destroy the valuation and destroy your chances of leaving successfully. And now you're staring down at, maybe 10 more years of working to recover what happened. We want to avoid that at all costs. And incentivizing an employee to stay and not leave and compete with you through a non-qualified deferred comp plan is a very powerful tool to be able to reward your employees, but also incentivize them to have their interests align with yours. How do we take action on this? Well, the first step in setting up a non-qualified deferred comp plan is to really sit down and evaluate who your key people are. Who in your organization, if they left tomorrow, if they went out, who are the people who have the key relationships with your customers or your clients? Who are the people that are so deep in the operational side of your business or in the sales and marketing, whatever department they're in? Who are the people that if they left tomorrow, that you would be devastated? It would be very damaging for your business. It would be very distracting, because not only would you have to replace them, but you'd have to replace everything that they have up in here that's critical to the operations or the growth of your business. So we really want to identify the key people. And in a non-qualified deferred comp plan, you don't have to include everybody. So you could have a non-qualified, you might have 100 people that work for you, and you may have only one key person, and that's fine. You can set up a non-qualified deferred comp plan for that one person, or you can set it up, depending on the size and how many key people you have. It doesn't matter the size of your organization. And it also can attract new people in the future too. So, if you're bringing on somebody for a critical position in key management role, and you want to incentivize them to work for your company versus another company, you can talk about the non-qualified deferred comp plan and how that's part of the deal too. So it's a way to also not only just keep the people we have, but attract new people that we're going to need down the road. If you have questions about non-qualified deferred comp plan, you can set up a free strategy call, and it's 15 minutes. We'll talk about what your organization looks like, how to go about setting up and thinking about what you should do in the initial stages in terms of plan design, and is this a good fit for your business. There's a link below this video where you can set up a free strategy call with me, and we can talk about your business and whether or not a non-qualified deferred comp plan might be a good fit for you. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Ashley Micciche, and here on our YouTube channel, we put out exit planning videos twice a month here. And so I hope you'll subscribe and then come back next time. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.